This is your Mining Disrupt news surge for Monday, October 14th, 2024. As always, everything that you see here is for entertainment and education purposes only. I'm not the guy to get your financial advice from. Please talk to a professional for that. Be sure to get your tickets to the Mining Disrupt Expo 2025 happening in just about 6 months from now in the Broward Convention Center, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's going to be happening March 25th through the 27th. You can go right over to miningdisrupt.com and get yourself some tickets. Also, in the world of Mining Disrupt, we're hiring. We are looking for a global marketing director. You can send your examples over to conference@miningdisrupt.com, or back over on miningdisrupt.com, you can just go to contact and fill out this information here, include some examples of what you've done, and you might land yourself a pretty sweet gig in the world of Bitcoin mining. Admittedly, that would be slightly adjacent to the actual mining. You wouldn't be going in a warehouse and changing ASICs out or anything like that, but you would be talking to the people that do that very thing at the expo. That's exactly the kind of people we bring together. Over here on timechaincalendar.com, look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, I am recording this on Saturday, and we are back in the low 60s. We have just been dinking around in the high 50s, low 60s for a minute now. We're still looking at some low on-chain transaction fees, although priority is in the moderate double digits right now, 25. But still, if you have some patience and you don't have any pressing needs to get that transaction through, you're looking at 2 sats per VByte for any time. And the public nodes online is back under 19,000. Now, before we get into this week's roundup of news, there's something that I like to do. And that is take note of something that somebody said early in the week and then see how that played out. That's exactly where we're going to be starting this time, with something that Dennis Porter said on Sunday. I have never witnessed Bitcoin coil up this much since discovering it 7 years ago. God candle incoming. Monday. Need Creations says, take OPSEC seriously. Prioritize your privacy. I just learned a hard lesson. That's all I'm going to say at this time. Tuesday. Peter Schiff says, it looks like the US government is getting ready to sell 69,370 Bitcoin. And he goes on to say, every once in a while, the government does something smart. I think Saylor should have MSTR borrow another 4.3 billion and buy it. Who agrees with me? American Hodl says, it's so on brand that Satoshi doesn't follow me back. LOL, Peter K. Todd. By the way, I watched the whole thing and I am shocked, absolutely shocked, that this ended up being yet another Blockstream conspiracy film. Who could have possibly have seen this coming? On Wednesday, Soft Warm LLC says, this system costs about $1,000 to build, produces 11,000 BTU an hour, consumes 3.5 kilowatts an hour, and makes about $5 per day worth of Bitcoin. The old electric heater above has no purpose. Thursday, Gloak says, you are not crazy. You are awake in an insane world. Also on Thursday, responding to some of that documentary news, Adam Back says, someone is going to talk to documentaries either way. It's better to be someone who understands and values Bitcoin mission than some self-aggrandizing newbie influencer nursing an altcoin bait and switch. Yes, there is risk they do some unfortunate arcs, but it is what it is. Friday, Bitcoin Breakdown reposting a rather old tweet here says, Bitcoins will do to banks what email did to the post office. And to round the week out with some news from Saturday, Marty Bent here he's quoting here, it's not just an economic problem, it's a social problem. There are so many people that have put their entire net worth in the value of their home, and it is written to a point that it no longer makes sense. And then him replying to that tweet, he says, real estate as the go-to store value asset will be looked at as crazy when people come to understand Bitcoin's superior properties, finite, divisible, digital, and liquid. Storing value in a consumable good that comes with high maintenance and insurance costs doesn't make sense. And right on the heels of that, and with all of the news that came out of the southeast of the US here recently, Stack Hodler says $1 trillion of prime Florida real estate needs to be repriced. I'm not going to go through the whole tweet here. It's a little bit longer. You can check it out below, but I'm going to be talking about it here in my thoughts section. First up, we're going to return to this one right here. Bitcoin will do to banks what email did to the post office. That doesn't mean that the post office or banks or any of these things will go away. We still have post offices. We still will have banks. It's just they will be working side by side, but one of them will be used far more often than the other. This next point cannot be stressed enough. You have to take your OPSEC seriously. There's this tweet here that I saw, and it's from DK Motion, and he talks about how he's not entirely sure, but he lost a significant portion of his net worth apparently. He says right here, I had a photo of a handwritten seed phrase, not digital, synced to Google Drive, hidden in a random folder. There are programs, malware, bots, AI, whatever, trolling the web looking for that exact kind of thing. That's all they do all the time, 24/7. They never sleep. That's all they're looking for. And as soon as they find it, it's gone. You cannot take your security more seriously. It is entirely your responsibility. There is no CEO to call up. There is no bank teller to talk to and say, hey, how do I get my Bitcoins back? I wanted to play with them. No, that's your responsibility. And lastly, I don't think that people really understand how big of a deal this is. Right here, Marty Bin talks about real estate being the go-to store of value, but he ends with the liquid part about Bitcoin. And that is, in my opinion, one of the most important things about Bitcoin. You can sell Bitcoin if you need to, in the case of an emergency, anytime you want. I know this is something that people have talked about a lot, but it has really come home and made a lot more sense to me recently because I have needed to pay for, I wouldn't call it a medical emergency, but I had a rather large dental bill that needed to be handled. And I didn't have to go in and dip into any sort of deep Bitcoin savings to do that, but being aware of that situation was made more prominent to me than ever before. I'd look at some of my belongings and I was going, boy, I can't sell this phone. I can't sell this, whatever, this hat, nearly as fast as I can go on some digital platform, beep, boop, boop, with a press of a couple buttons. I've sold some Bitcoin if I need to. And like I said, I haven't needed to do that quite yet, but the importance of that, I think, is just going to become more and more apparent as time goes on. With that said, I will end this week with the one piece of advice that I feel confident and secure in saying, and that is take some time. Take an hour of your week to research what money is, to learn about the economic system. And yeah, spend a little bit of that time learning about Bitcoin too, because, well, it is a growing part of that system. And you might want to understand how this all works. And if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of how Bitcoin works specifically, be sure to get your tickets to the Mining Disrupt Expo. Scan that QR code right down there. Head over to Fort Lauderdale in March of next year and learn about Bitcoin from the ground up. See you next week.